Recently, I was looking into potentially buying maybe like a duplex or a triplex. Just like noodling with the idea. I was looking around on what's available and doing some like slight due diligence, and I realized not a lot of people know or really think about due diligence and how to kind of properly go about it. So due diligence in purchasing real estate. I'm going to talk about, this applies to commercial, but mostly residential. Commercial is kind of a slightly different beast. But when you go to buy a property and it's typically in a major metropolitan area or somewhat metropolitan area, there tends to be quite a few government agencies. Government agencies are somewhat there to keep track of conditions of properties. Here in LA, we have a penumbra of government agencies. We have LADBS, which is the building department. That's for LA City. County has like its own building department. A few other cities have their own building departments, or some of them will have their stuff deferred to either the county or the city. There's building departments. They have records for, like, let's say LA City. There is the housing department. So if you're looking to buy a property like in LA City, like a duplex or triplex tends to be under rent control. So it's subject to LAHD. There's property activity reports, what it's called. And that's a way that you can look up the property records for that building from housing. So any inspections that they've done, any citations in the past or any open cases. So you can look it up that way, and you can do a free, on both of those, you can do a free public records request to get the documents for that building. So that is, could be part of your due diligence. You should also look at, the assessor's website and see the activity on the property. That's another free website that you might want to look at. But there's all sorts of kind of free things. You can simply Google the property, get an idea of what it looks like, obviously drive by it, obviously do inspections. So if you're like in the process of buying it, you do an inspection as part of your due diligence. But I find that people don't know about like a lot of free public records. And I remember talking to a client who owned several buildings and was contemplating purchasing a building. And it was a rent controlled apartment building. And I go, go look at the housing records. Kind of was like, what? I go, yeah, pull up the housing records. You can do that? I go, yeah, just put in a public records request. I go, you can look on the website and do an activity report, and you can see the citations. They go back a few years. They don't go like all the way back. A few years back, I go, you can get an idea if there's any citations open, what the last SCEP inspection showed up. SCEP is every 2-3 years, the city goes and inspects the entire property. That's why in rent control buildings, they have the SCEP fee. So a tenant pays back a portion of the fee, like half the fee, through pass-throughs every month. That's like a little beyond this video. That's what that fee is for. Every 2-3 years, the city comes out and inspects the building. So those records are made public. He had like no idea. So we looked them up, saw that there was repeated violations for the same thing, that a tenant was causing issues. He already wasn't into the deal, and that kind of helped solidify, like, this is not going to be a property I want to take on. So the idea of looking these things up is, want to mitigate the number of surprises that you have. And that is something that I found very interesting that not a lot of people knew about. So if you are in an area and you're looking to do, purchase some sort of residential property, there's building departments, or you're in a rent controlled city, maybe there's public records for those kinds of things. You could look into those as well and potentially do a public records request, and then you would be able to have access to that kind of information and make an even more informed decision on this potential acquisition. So that's just kind of a brief overview on that. If this seems like really interesting or you want to know more about it, maybe I can do a video that further fleshes this out. But I thought that would be very helpful for people who are like first time buyers, or they're buying like their 1,000th unit, but they just didn't know this. So hopefully that helps. Good luck.